Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
The following broadcast is an official production of the Faulkner Sports Network.
Going for the dragon here. And Faulkner steal. In comes Volibear. And everybody on the other team immediately goes for it. Oh, it looks like the whole team is there in one spot. So let's see how this goes. Magic and pizzas for everyone. There you go. All right, they get one. They get the other. Double kill. And it looks like they're going to steal the dragon. Nice job, guys.
Sure does.
Come on. Seal the deal. Oh, he's lost his more powerful form. It'll take him a little longer, but he still gets the kill.
Dang.
Right.
It looks like they're Baron unless
Raptor's gonna...
Oh, we
Oh my gosh! Now, Raptor paid for it with his life, but definitely worth it.
That is incredible.
Perfect timing on Ethan's part.
That is an incredibly hype thing happening.
And getting very deep into enemy territory here.
Now look for a really punt.
Yep.
Might be it.
This might be ball game. Frisbee dealing out a lot of damage.
Oh, GG's.
That's it, guys.
Woo.
And with that, Faulkner is going to the championship game.
Let's go. Good stuff. Good stuff. And welcome in, folks. Thank you so much for being with us here for Faulkner Esports coverage of League of Legends, guys. It is playoff season.
Yes, sir.
And we are here with all the coverage for the first playoff game. This one's going to be Faulkner versus Pitt State. So it's going to be Eagles versus Gorillas. And we are going to be taking them on for the first round of the playoffs. Now, we are going to show you the bracket here in just a second so that you guys can see how the playoffs are going to shake out. Yeah, there we go. And you can see there that you have some familiar faces, and you also have a few that are not there. Real quick, sorry about this, Liz. I forgot to mention this to you. Can you take the Faulkner Esports logo down because we're blocking a little bit of the bottom of that one? Yeah, there we go. So let's bring the bracket back up. There we are. Thank you so much. That's why we pay her the big bucks, folks, because she can do this kind of stuff on the fly. So you'll see we have 4 teams that came from our own division. So that's going to be Western Michigan, Cedarville, Chapman, and then, of course, us. And then we have 4 teams from another division. Going to be Clemson, Indiana, playing tonight, and Iona University. So we've beaten all of the teams in our division, obviously, since we have a perfect record. The other teams we've never seen before, including the one we have tonight. So you're going to see maybe some teams that you've seen before on this journey through the playoffs, and you might see some teams you've never seen before, like this evening. Hopefully we get to continue and see some more of those.
That's right, but nights like tonight are what make it fun. Nights
Absolutely.
where you're not playing on prior experience, you're playing on pure talent, pure draft, and pure technical skill.
Yep. And so we got a little off track with the bracket because we just got excited about it. But I should introduce myself. I'm Caleb Colquitt, the head coach, and this is
I'm Raffe Thrash. I'm going to be a commentator.
yeah. So Raffe is going to be doing all of our color commentary tonight. So let's go ahead and now that we've done our intros, let's head inside Regitar USA High Res Arena and meet our players. You'll see over there on the far left, super intense. You can see the intense focus there. That's Ethan Dixon, RapterKlaw, the jungler. And then in the middle, we have El Capitan, Zane Thrash. He's the team captain and also goes by MrGunk, who also tends to be, I believe he's playing top lane tonight. Is that correct?
Okay. I haven't heard any official word.
Okay,
But it'll
so
be either top or bot lane.
Yeah, I believe he's top laning because Jonah will be mid, and then we'll have the other two on support and ADC.
Okay.
So over there on the far left, we've got Sam Hu. And he is going to be our support this evening. So he goes by, let's see, what is the, I know Salon is his official gamer tag, but I have to be honest, I'm forgetting what his, oh, that's right. He has the one with all the consonants and no vowels.
Is that him?
Yeah, that's a long string of letters. So you'll know it when you see it. There's no way to pronounce it. It's literally unpronounceable. But that's Sam. He goes by Salon, so we'll call him that. Then in the middle, you have the team's lieutenant. That is Jonah Flood, also known as Swimmingly. And tonight, I believe he's playing it with his Immune to Flame account. So
As
he'll be
has been
mid-laning.
the precedent thus far.
Right, he's been using that one, and I think because the way it works with Nace, you have to register a specific account.
Right,
so
yeah.
that's like his official Nace account.
Mhm.
So even though he does play Swimmingly as well, the official account he'll be using this evening is Immune to Flame. And then on the far right, underneath the Faulkner wing shield logo, that is going to be another newcomer to the team. That's Isaac Zoo, and he is or goes by Fenburger, or Finn, as we like to call him.
Well, that
because
makes it a lot
We're
easier.
lazy and we only like one syllable. So that's the guys are there, and as you can tell, they're getting ready. They're actually drafting right now because I know you guys can't see their screens, but we get a sneak peek. We can actually see their screens right now. So they are in the draft process, which means that we're going to be getting to some action pretty quickly. They've already, through the client, and we won't tell you who they picked yet, but we do know that they've already banned 3 and each team has picked 4. So we're not far from action right now.
I believe that's got to be flipped because normally we'll pick 3, ban 3, and then ban 2, ban 3, pick 3, ban 2, and then pick 2. So they are.
Did I say it backwards?
Yes, but I said it backwards about 50 times
It's
myself.
all right.
So
Regardless,
regardless,
broadcasters here.
yes, but regardless, they are getting very very far along in this.
Right.
So we should be getting into the game probably in under 5 minutes.
Yeah,
on our end.
I would say so. And there is that 3 minute, it's 2.5 now, right? Is it 2.5?
It should still be 3.
Okay, it's still 3. Okay, sorry. CS2 changed everything this year, and
Yes.
like the delays and everything just completely threw me off. But no, it's going to be still 3 for League of Legends. So as soon as they get into the client, we will take a look at their draft, see who they're picking, get an idea of what this game's going to look like, and then we go immediately from there into gameplay. So looking forward to that. And as Raffe can tell you, a lot of these games are really won or lost before the game ever starts if you get a really good draft.
Yes, so much of the draft, especially in coordinated team play like we're going to see tonight, is dictated by who you pick.
Right.
And purely the tempo that you want to play. You can have an early game dive-based comp that really wants to push the lead early, has really strong early game champions, and then snowball that lead before anything gets out of hand.
Right.
Then you have teams who just want to stall out the game as long as possible and just scale into the late game, get their items, get their power spikes. And so it's all about playing to the tempo that you draft. You can draft comfort picks, but you want to make sure that your whole team is on the same page.
Right, and that's another thing that's important. Even in just based on the situation, you might pick a draft that's good for you, but if you're not taking into account the team comp and how that's going to synergize with your fellow teammates, then that can be a real problem. And so that's got to be something that the team, I know that this team's been working together for an entire semester now. They were able to go all the way through the regular season. They've become very comfortable with one another. And so because of that, you're going to see a lot of really high-level team comp and synergy tonight as well from both teams.
And
Actually,
actually,
Pittsburgh wouldn't have made it here if they weren't also really good.
exactly. Now, there's a great example of what we were just talking about in the third game of the very last set of the regular season that we played, where Yon was selected in the mid lane. And I was talking to the team afterwards, and they said that Yon had been drafted because they had AP, ability power based damage in the bottom lane, and attack damage based damage in the top lane. And Yon has perfectly mixed damage between attack damage and ability power. And so by picking Yon, you force the enemy to choose whether to build armor or magic resist, which opens the avenue for one of those carries to be able to just completely unleash on the other team. So that's a great example of them learning draft synergy and picking ahead of time instead of just trying to play the best they can with the champions that they select.
Right, and speaking of draft, we're actually in the draft client now, which means if we want to go ahead and switch over to, let's see, who do we want to take a look at? Let's switch over to Tournament PC 4 and just get a look inside the draft client so we can get an idea of who all is going to be picked this evening. Tournament PC 4 is the one that we need to take a look at. There we go.
Okay, already we have for Faulkner, Shen, Sejuani, and Twisted Fate. So what that tells me instantly is cross map plays very early, very often, because Shen, his ultimate ability is that he shields any teammate on the map, and then after 3 seconds will teleport to them. Twisted Fate, his ultimate ability reveals every enemy on the map, and then can teleport within a certain distance, but it's incredibly long range. You can usually go from lane to lane and do it. So it's going to be a lot of early game pressure, probably looking towards that bot lane to get this Kai'Sa really far ahead of the Tristana that we see picked by Pitt State.
Yeah, and so we've got a couple of really interesting things to note here, because we've seen Sejuani picked quite often in Faulkner's matchup so far. Ethan does really well with her. He's an excellent jungler. We've seen Nautilus a couple times picked by Faulkner, although we've more often actually seen it picked by the other teams. But the other ones are a fairly new team comp.
That looks like it might have been a flex set pick, which you don't see that often. Normally, you would presume that it was picked into the top lane Shen. Set being a really good brawler would do well into a tank Shen. But with the Sylas last pick, Sylas is traditionally a mid laner, has been flexed top recently.
Interesting.
And Set is capable of playing support. Has a similar role actually to play as Nautilus would.
Okay, so we'll have a bit of unconventional gameplay from Pitt State. So
tells me they're already getting tricky in the draft, drafting traditional top lane early and then flexing him to the support very last pick.
Interesting. So it'll be intriguing to see exactly what that looks like when they get into game. And one thing I do want to bring up while we're talking about it, and of course with this being a playoff game, I will mention this of course after based on what our results are. But just everybody keep in mind while we're waiting on the game to actually start that the next game, if we win, will be against either Iona or Chapman. So it will be either Iona or Chapman that we play against. We will know the results of that whenever their game finishes, which is actually going on simultaneously to our game. So what we will do is we will periodically check in on the NACE scoreboard and see if that game is wrapping up or we get some kind of indication from them exactly what it is, but we won't know anything until results are posted. So there's a chance we'll know exactly who we're playing by the end of this game. There's a chance we won't know until later tonight and after our broadcast. So we'll try to get that information to you and update that bracket as quickly as possible. But be sure to check out all of our social media, whether you're talking about following Faulkner Esports on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, or whatever they're calling it now. Elon can't make up his mind. But anyway, just be sure to check on all of our social media accounts, and we will be sure to make you aware of who we're going to play again, because there's a chance we could play Chapman again in the next round. And you remember, they gave us quite a bit of trouble the last time we played them.
That's true. Now, all that hinges on us being able to take down Pitt State tonight.
Of course. You can't get too far ahead of yourself. I mean, this is you got to keep your head in the current game.
And even given the team comp that Faulkner has opted to draft. It is very high octane, but there's also only one damage carry on that team,
Right.
and that's that Kaisa, who I'm not sure who's playing that, but I believe it's Fen.
So he'd be ADCing. with
Yes.
her. Okay.
So all of Faulkner's hopes and dreams are going to lie on him. Now, his whole team is going to be able to just throw themselves on top of him and try to keep him alive for as long as possible. Some threats to that are going to include the Zhao, picked by the enemy jungler, who does have that capability to get in and knock the whole team away.
Right.
And so it's going to be a challenge, but that's essentially what Faulkner's game plan is. It's protect the one man. That's their entire team comp is to enable Fen. That's it. That's the game plan.
Interesting.
So letting him fall behind early is going to be pretty devastating. He's got to play really, really well early. Really, he can't slip up.
Gotcha.
So it puts a lot of pressure on him. But if anyone can do it, he can. And
hey, Finn's been
he's done it
solid as a
before.
rock all season. He's been really, really good. Been able to come through in clutch situations, and it's been really fun to watch bottom lane with him in it. Of course, he's been top laning some too, because they change up their team comp a little bit. Like sometimes they'll switch Sam out for Charlie, and when they do that, they actually have Charlie run with Zane in bottom lane, and then have Isaac run top lane. And so, very versatile character, somebody that is very accustomed to having the team rely on him.
Yes.
And so that'll be really interesting to see how that shakes out.
And I believe we are about to be able to get into game ourselves.
Yeah,
I believe the 3-minute timer has expired. The loading
has it?
screen popping up. Yes, it has.
All right, and here we go. We're underway.
Excellent. Game 1 of playoffs. Can't ask for much more. Now, we know that everybody gets a little bit shaky at the start of the game, you know, so it's going to be important that Faulkner keeps their hopes up, their morale up, tries not to do anything too insane at the very start. Because if you put yourself with a moral deficit, it can be relatively difficult to come back from, especially in a small playoff series. Now we see Faulkner already heading down as a team of 5 into the bottom lane, seeing if they can get any cheeky picks here. Are going to be spotted out on a ward, but I believe the camera is getting corrected. There we go. Now you see them traveling as a unit, and now let me just review some of the character picks real quick, and for the sake of clarity. That is going to be the set top lane for Pitt on Comrade, and MrGunk in the top lane on the Shen. In the jungle, we have Swig for Pitt on the Zhao, and RapterKlaw on Sejuani. In the middle lane, we have Twisted Fate for Faulkner on Immune to Flame, and Pitt State opting for the Orianna for Church. In the bottom lane, Fenburgeorag on the Kaisa, and Sean in Space on Tristana. And then in support, also in the bottom lane, we have the series of letters on Nautilus, who is Salon. And for Pitt State, they have Potato Agent on the Silas. So it was, they did opt to put Set in the top lane and have Silas support. I can't say that's something I've seen too often.
Right.
It's not to say that it can't be done. Obviously, it's League of Legends. You can win with half-eaten potato, but it's much different than anything I've seen. So I'm curious to see how it'll play out.
Yeah, this is certainly going to be interesting. Like you said, we've already seen some like weird draft shenanigans, so it'll be fascinating to see how this actually plays out, how the execution goes now that the draft phase is over. And it looks like Salon just kind of hanging out with Nautilus, hiding in the bushes, waiting to see what the proper opportunity is to strike.
It's going to be a little bit difficult for him to recover from that. That was a really rough trade. Tristana can do so much damage early, and Silas has an early heal. Oh, the flash hook gonna miss from Salon, and
that would have been really nice.
That would have been a kill. That would have been first blood, but we do see that early game pressure from Faulkner. The early level 2 gank only cleared half of the jungle. So, gonna head back up into the top lane. Now, we do see Pitt State already trying to retaliate. Ping's coming out into the bottom lane. Faulkner super far pushed up and likely going to be paying a blood toll here.
Yeah, Nautilus not really able to get away from that, and Nautilus is not the fleetest of foot when it comes to characters. So,
but was able to save Fenburger. Did land a hook onto Zinzao, which prevented the follow-up.
Right.
So Swig not able to pick up a second kill. That's about the best you can ask for. However, that is going to mean a 6K gold lead early in the favor of Pitt State.
Right. Not ideal, but also not devastating.
Right. Unfortunately, the kill did go over to Fenburger's lane opponent, to that Tristana, which is going to make it a little bit difficult to deal with. But typically, with the Nautilus, you aren't looking to take a lot of trades early because you are so weak. You need that full combo. You need that level 3.
And his very foreboding presence would not necessarily lead you to believe that he has that level of weakness. But yeah, he looks like just a hulking suit of armor, but he actually is a little bit squishy.
Actually, squishy for quite a while as well. It takes him a little bit to get those items and really become tanky, but once he gets those items, it's a monster. And Faulkner having a very good scaling team comp here, so waiting is something they're going to be happy to do.
Yeah, this competition up here in top lane, MrGunk looking like he was going to take the rough side of this engagement, but actually winds up doing a ton of damage and kicking the other guy down a little bit lower. So we're going to see if he's going to be able to do anything with that.
Likely we'll just see MrGunk try to play for wave state. Seth does have a secondary passive of getting increased health regen the lower health that he is. So it's going to be a little bit easier for him to recover from those trades than for MrGunk. And so taking these little one-off tiny trades where Seth doesn't really get a whole lot back, where Comrade can't really strike him too heavily, is going to be key. Now, we do see a fight breaking out here in the bot lane, and Salon going to be going down again. The Tristana damage early just going to be too much to deal with.
Yeah, Tristana, very heavy hitter. Got that little cannon, and she knows how to use it.
And we see Fenburger opting for the coal, which is an item that takes some time to kick in. It rewards heavy farming. And actually going to be... Oh, and Finn goes down too, man. Pitt State with all 3 of the kills currently on the board. And the exact opposite place of where we want to see them. Exactly. Anywhere else would be better, but Faulkner going to have to find a way to play this from behind, probably play much, much, much safer, even if it means giving up all pressure on that dragon. They got to do whatever they can to stop this Tristana from scaling because, like I was saying earlier, Fenburger is this team's carry. Right, and just Pitt State actually passing Faulkner with a 2,000 gold advantage now. So that's going to be a difficult, by no means an insurmountable, but a difficult hill to climb. Yes, now where Faulkner is going to need to look to regain lost ground is going to be at level 6. When you can get the Twisted Fate roams, when you can get the roams from Shen up on top, and actually we see both of them do have their ultimate abilities, so probably going to be looking to help out here in the bot lane. Set ult is going to come out from Comrade. Not going to do a whole lot other than bring MrGunk to half health, though. Yeah, MrGunk and his fellow top lane are just kind of testing the waters there, dancing around a little, one another a little bit. You can tell that they're both trying to wait a little bit longer to have a serious fight top lane. Now, Sejuani here to pick up the pressure. Unfortunately, Zinzao will come in, will take the revenge, and probably get Dragon here. Yep, and another kill going over in the mid lane to the Orianna as well. Already Faulkner falling pretty distantly behind. 2.5k gold lead is not what you want to see at 7 minutes. Oh, absolutely not. And the fact that they're probably going to take Dragon here. Now, I haven't seen anybody go for Rift Herald yet. Have I missed that? Or no, Rift Herald does not spawn until 8 minutes. Okay, so we're just knocking on the door of that one. Now we do see the Shen ult coming out here to save the Fenburger, and as well as the Twisted Fate ult. They're going to be able to pick off the Zinzao on the way down. Yeah. So, I mean, not enough to dig them out of this hole, but certainly a promising start. Both kills going over to Fenburger is what you want there. That is super ideal. And the Tristana is low here. Silas just now coming back into lane. Potato Agent going to be taking his time a little bit, but coming back fairly fast considering he just died. So, probably just want to retreat here. Don't go for anything too crazy. Then all should be able to get out here. The Silas is going to miss that chain, and crisis averted for Faulkner. Anchors away. Yes, plates are going to begin to be a difference maker here. We already see the 2 falling in the top lane, giving Seth just a little extra stipend of gold. Orianna and Twisted Fate both hitting that Lost Chapter power spike. Going to be pretty huge for their trading power, meaning that there's going to be some more damage in the mid lane and likely some more jungle pressure coming out from both Swig and RapterKlaw.
Yeah, Twisted Fate's added range has been such an asset so far in this game. You can tell it's Jonah's been able to use it as a tool to keep him out of trouble.
Which is really what you need against Orianna, because she will just bully the melee picks so hard.
But it looks like they're ganging up on him, and they are actually going to get a kill on him. However, Sejuani comes in, and RapterKlaw tries to make some noise, but I think he's decided that 2 against 1, especially with Jonah not being able to take off a whole bunch of damage, is going to be just far more trouble than it's worth.
All right. Likely going to clear out the wave here in mid, just so that XP doesn't go to waste. But the Silas here is making plays around the map, which is a little bit dangerous. Unfortunately, top wave in a pretty disastrous state for MrGunk right now. Not going to be able to do a whole lot to this set, and really needs that wave to crash under tower to be able to do anything. So we're going to see very likely Sejuani coming up here into the top lane, not necessarily to get a kill, just to help MrGunk push that wave in so he's not stuck losing the whole game now. Xin Zhao having pretty good game knowledge. Swig going to respond to that in kind and try to keep MrGunk in this hole for as long as he can.
Yeah, right now, with the exception of mid lane, Faulkner really behind in every position, and they're going to have to make some tricky plays here to be able to start clawing their way back.
Yeah, and like I was saying earlier, Faulkner's okay being at a small deficit. Ideally, it wouldn't be this large,
Right.
but if you have to play at a deficit as Faulkner, you can wait and scale up a little bit. You have the potential to make picks through the Sejuani,
Oh, for sure.
through the Nautilus, with the point and click ult from him and the chain CC coming through. They have a lot of hope.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is going to be locking it down without them one-shotting Fenburger first.
Right. Ultimately, that is going to be the thing that they have to worry about. And with Fen, going super deep here, going to try to take a plate off of this tower, and it looks like he's going to.
At the cost of a significant amount of health, though. Would
Yeah,
not be
but it
surprised to see Tristana jump forward, try to maybe get a reset. We see Xin Zhao is here in the bottom lane, actually walking up towards the blue side of Faulkner. They're getting ready for a dive, potentially.
Looks like it.
And so if Faulkner can manage to escape here, they're going to fork over some plates, but that's going to be okay. Actually, Xin Zhao opting just to go jungle some more. Tristana is going to take a tower shot. Good play by Salon, locking her in, making her take an additional one.
Right.
Just a little bit of a reminder, at the end of the day, they're not going to be able to fight with Kai'Sa. It's such low health. Fenburger going to need to back before they can do anything. And there is an item advantage actually for Fenburger here, but that's because the Tristana hasn't backed in quite a while. Sean in space probably has a relatively significant gold lead. I would say most of the gold lead is on him.
Yeah, sometimes being in an item deficit is actually, in some ways, a good sign because it means you haven't died in a while. So
Right, and now that he went back to base, did pick up the Kraken Slayer, so that means that both ADCs are going to be matched. Twisted Fate is going to be able to escape here with the ultimate. Good play, good heads-up play. Potato Agent really just making a huge difference in the middle lane. That's the second time that he's been there, and causing a lot of issues for Immune to Flame getting to scale. The Sejuani ult gonna swing wide. Likely nothing more gonna come from here. Seth could look to kill top lane though. MrGunk is severely low, so the Rift Herald being dropped top means that tower is going to fall.
Yep. But it looks like is Faulkner. No, I don't think Faulkner's going to challenge this dragon here. I don't know that they're in a good position.
Oh, they're definitely not. They kind of have to fork over pretty much all the objectives here early. They need to play for the middle game,
right,
where they can get some really solid team fights, maybe get a couple picks here and there, and play off of that. The Kai'Sa being a dive carry as she is going to struggle a little bit just to play in the lane by herself, so she really needs to get to the next phase of the game as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's interesting because what we've seen Faulkner do a lot here is they don't typically get behind early. They like to make a statement early on and then just kind of slow and steady it for the rest of the game. It's not a situation they've been in a lot this season.
The Shen ult gonna come out to save Immune to Flame, but Immune to Flame gonna step back up anyway. The jungler is bot for Pitt State, and it's a disaster. It's rough out here. Everybody's gonna die from Faulkner.
Oh no.
Yeah. That was just one.
Yeah, a complete team wipe.
Yeah, I mean,
not what you want to see.
No, Faulkner's gonna have to learn just how to cut their losses. I know that they need to make plays, but the way that you make those plays is by playing so safe that the enemy is forced into positions where they don't want to be.
Right.
Just if they can manage to play under those towers and just use it for security, and then look to use the Shen ult and the Twisted Fate ult to have a reversal when they're so far up that Pitt State has no choice but to fight. That's the opportunities they want to be looking for.
Right.
But as it is, this Orianna having a pretty massive lead over the Twisted Fate takes away just about all of his utility. He's not going to be able to do a whole lot, and for as safe as he was playing early, the Orianna has been able to pick up a couple kills. Actually, the last one coming off a reversal when she was getting ganked herself. Silas mid yet again. Immune to Flame is going to be able to dodge out that hook though, so nothing going to come from it, fortunately. This Tristana though, so far ahead. Sean in space has no issue just staying in lane by himself, and being as mobile of a carry as Tristana is, she isn't really in any danger either. So Pitt State in a very, very, very fortunate situation. 7k gold lead in 14 minutes. Faulkner's been in the reverse of these situations pretty often.
Yeah, it's become almost commonplace to where even if Faulkner's not ahead in the kill count, they're pretty far ahead in the gold count. That's not the case tonight, unfortunately.
No. And so if this game does continue to trend like this, Faulkner is going to have to look at drafting a pretty significantly different team comp. I just don't think that this wait and see what happens thing is really working out in their best interests. We do see Faulkner running two people mid, trying to catch out this Tristana, is going to get caught by the Sidwani ult, but buffer the jump. Nothing going to come from that. Pitt State collapsing from all sides, and it is likely just going to result in another few kills for Pitt State.
Salon goes down, Finn goes down. Yeah.
I mean, the team coordination from Pitt State just can't be overstated. They are matching Faulkner's every move, and because of the early lead that they built up, they're able to profit off of all of it. And like I was saying,
two turrets there is just massive.
And that second turret going to be giving 600 gold as well. It only makes this gold lead look uglier. But because of the draft and because of the way the early game played out, with so much fighting early with the Nautilus, it didn't have really even his full combo ready, and into such a strong early game carry as Tristana can be, it makes this game very difficult to come back from, because not only is she good early, but she scales incredibly well.
So Nautilus going to try to get a kill here, but
the Ignite is going to be used, but
not quick enough.
In futility, I fear. Silas is alone, but Faulkner has no vision on the top side of the map, so Fenburgeorag going to have to respect that and just back off. It's becoming a pretty brutal chokehold that Pitt State has got Faulkner in. They're going to have to do a pretty significant amount of work to get back in this game.
Yeah, now the one bright spot of this is that just about every player except for one on Pitt State side has a significant bounty by this point. And so if somehow Faulkner could manage to lure 2 or 3 of them into a 5v3 or something like that and pick off a couple kills, that could start doing some damage to Pitt State's econ advantage. But yeah, you're right. This is just going to be a very, very difficult position to have to play from.
And I mean, with as good of teamwork as we've seen from Pitt State thus far, I would say it would not be very unlikely just to see them play it. Nothing risky at all. Just keep playing the same death ball style that they've been doing. Just have set up in the top lane, constantly pressuring, because they don't really need them for the team fights. No.
Oh, and he goes down.
Yeah, they took the tier 2 turret with it. That second
Oh,
turret.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed that when we were zipping back and forth between fight.
At this point, Pitt State 3-0 in Dragons. Likely going to be claiming the soul. Now, I believe it's the Chemtech soul, which is not the worst thing. What that does is if you claim the Chemtech soul, then you get plus 10% damage and resistances when you're below 50% HP, which isn't going to be a huge problem because Faulkner hasn't been getting them below 50% HP a ton.
Right.
So they are going to be looking for a pick here. The Oriana ult, that shockwave from Church, going to be pretty massive now. Does look like she's actually going to go down for it and not getting any kills or return. So right on. That's great. The kill going over to the Twisted Fate means that he has replenished his gold worth, and a reversal coming out from Pitt State here. The Tristana jumping in, no hesitation, so strong at this point. Has those 2 items, 7 and 0. It is completely overloaded with gold.
Yeah, and like you said, that Tristana is able to just, her damage output is so beyond what anybody else really has on the field right now that Faulkner can compete with.
Oh, it's not going to be close. As well as her jump away gives her a pretty significant retreat tool.
Right.
So she doesn't even have to worry about her team peeling for her. She can just do it for herself. And because of the mechanics of that jump, even if she gets crowd controlled, which is normally how you prevent people from moving,
Right.
she can just jump anyway.
Right.
It's called jump buffering, and so regardless of what actually happens, she'll just go away. And that jump does reset on full bomb explosions or kills and assists. So it's not like she jumps once and that's her mobility for the fight. If she gets a kill, she will keep leaping on to Faulkner and they can't run away. It's sort of a kill or be killed moment there with Tristana.
Yeah, and we see Pitt State going for the Baron Nasher there. Probably going to get it uncontested. Faulkner really just does not have the resources, even with just 4 out of the 5 characters. Well, actually, there's the 5th over there. It looks like they are going to challenge here.
RapterKlaw went for it, but that was a guaranteed death, and it was really more of a delay of the inevitable than anything else.
I think the fact that it was just Raptor and Ben, or Raptor and Salon, I think that indicated that they knew that was a Hail Mary play. Not much chance of succeeding, but if it did and they suddenly got a Baron buff, that might have been a pretty good sign.
It would have delayed Pitt State, but we are going to see them just Baron buff. There's 2 super minions in top lane. There's a wave crashing down in mid. The game is very likely over within the next minute.
Yeah, it looks like they're actually going to go for win right now, which there's not a whole lot they can do here.
Oh, no.
Able to take these turrets down pretty quickly. The inhibitors didn't last long. It looks like Faulkner is going to make a stand, but I don't think they're going to be able to do much here.
No, that's going to be all she wrote for game 1. I will say that both times that I've seen Twisted Fate picked, it has not been very good. I mean, there's just so much that has to go into that game plan. When you pick Twisted Fate, so much has to go right, including the bot lane being completely inactive until he can really go down there and make a difference for him.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, the early Tristana lead was just way too much for Faulkner to handle, and didn't really have anything else on any other part of the map going for him, and that's going to be a game 1 loss for Faulkner. Now, this is exactly what happened last time.
Right.
It is possible. It is not over yet. It just is more difficult. So
yeah, so Faulkner, because this is a best of 3, they could come back and do exactly what they did in the last game and win the next 2 and win it, fairly convincingly, which is what they did last time. But yeah, definitely there were so many things that went wrong with that one. They sort of lost their early game mojo, which is normally Faulkner's territory. It's where they shine. They'll do really good in the early game. They'll kind of back off and just play it slow and steady in the mid and then just crush it at the end. That didn't happen this time.
No, and I mean, if we think back to the last time that the Faulkner dropped a game, only once, it was still a pretty back and forth game, whereas this was a lot more defining and very controlled from Pitt State. They knew what to do with the lead, so Faulkner likely going to need a comp that can really have some more control in that early game. Nautilus is a great pick. You just have to know when to pick your fights with them, especially into a support that does a similar job like Silas.
Right.
But Silas can heal. And Silas also does a lot of area of effect damage. And so it makes things very difficult for Nautilus to play into if you're going for these very early trades, sacrificing your health pool before you really have the tools to fight.
Right, exactly. And so that's going to be something that Faulkner is going to have to reconsider. I think that they'll be, because we've seen it happen with them before, it would be wise for them to consider banning some of the picks that they had in this game. If you were in their position, what would be the two positions that you would say most needs to ban? Would you go with banning the Tristana?
I think that if Faulkner is not prepared to match the early game damage of that Tristana, that they need to cut her out, because there is so much safety in that pick. If she scales, she's the best carry on their team. If she doesn't scale and just does nothing, then she's now able to match you, but also have that safety that you really don't. So proved to have a lot of issues there. I don't think that any of the other picks were necessarily a problem. I feel like there were some poor trades taken in the mid lane where Orion was able to pick up a couple kills even after Immune to Flame had already gotten out. He went back in just for an extra greedy little bit of damage, so wouldn't have done anything and ended up dying for it.
Right, nothing overwhelming. Other
just
than
small
that
things.
Tristana, but definitely something that they can learn from, because one thing that I was very impressed with, and I've been saying this about our own jungler RapterKlaw basically all season, he has gotten so good at learning the game that it seems like he's always exactly where he needs to be.
No, he had incredible presence. He was where he needed to be at all times. It was just, for one reason or another, things didn't work out.
Well, I wasn't going to blame him. What I was actually going to say is, it seemed like their jungler had that exact same presence. Because everywhere that it seemed like there was an extra body needed, all of a sudden, there he was.
Yes, but RapterKlaw did have the upper foot on him pretty much every single step.
That is true.
You think about the bot lane where those first two kills went over. RapterKlaw was down there first, and the flash hook from the Nautilus just went wide, and then Faulkner opting push up with no vision in the river was just a little bit of an overstep.
Right.
And then in the middle lane, there was a gank from RapterKlaw. The ultimate just barely went wide. That would have been a kill for Faulkner.
For sure.
And the top lane was able to match that set pressure and really control that wave when MrGunk was essentially in an unrecoverable position, was able to help him recover that wave that Seth was freezing at the tower, and sort of get him back to the point where he could farm again, try to get some gold. So really, if there's any bright spot for Faulkner, it was that jungle play. I would say keep the Sejuani. He seemed to know exactly what he was doing on that champ. I would say change up the draft in bottom lane and pick a more damage-heavy carry in the middle lane. We've seen Immune to Flame play Twisted Fate a couple times before, hasn't worked out. We've seen him play carries before that are really the ones in charge of doing all the damage, and he does amazing.
Oh yeah,
he knows exactly what he's doing on those characters, and so if we give him a role to shine, I really feel like he's going to be able to have a much larger presence than he was this last game.
Yeah, no, I think that that's definitely the case. And when it comes to mid lane, Jonah is one of the, just on a technical level, not just his game knowledge, but as far as like knowing exactly when to poke the other person, when to step back, he's really, really good at that. But because he was just so overpowered in this game, he didn't really have the ability to show that off. And so it'll be really nice to be able to see exactly what he's going to do from this point forward, if he's going to pick a character that allows him to do that, and is going to have the team backing him, that's going to allow him to stay, do his thing and basically stay even with the other mid laner to be able to do those kinds of things. So, and that's really, it's not just him, it's going to be all the way around. I do think that felt like we were getting bullied in top lane pretty hard as well. So
yeah, Seth is just gonna maul any sort of tank. You can't really. His whole thing is that he's a cage fighter, and so what he wants to do is he wants to bring you in and fight you for as long as he can, and that's exactly what Shen wants to do as well. We saw MrGunk on the Shen. Shen picked more for the utility to be able to ult to these other lanes and protect them as well, but it doesn't really matter a whole lot when that can be interrupted by any crowd control. And so if Seth just walks up to you and pulls you, then your whole game plan is gone. And now you're forced to fight this set who will 100% beat you in a one-on-one scenario.
For sure.
So it was a counter pick. We did first pick the Shen.
Yeah.
So they picked the set into the Shen. I believe. No, we were on red side.
We were on red, yeah.
So we picked the Shen into the set. Interesting.
Wait, do you know that for sure? Like,
yes, blue side will always have first pick.
I thought because we were doing the client, sometimes you could actually manipulate that, or the third party pick band. Okay, so it is always. Okay. So I learned something new. So
yes.
yeah.
Faulkner will have side selection on this game, so they'll be able to decide if they want that first pick, or because blue side will get the first pick and red side will get the last pick.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have, if there's just one character that you really, really, really want to get, you go blue side. But if you want to have the last counter pick, you go to the red side.
Right.
Very often, at least in professional play, teams will go to the blue side, but that's because there's a very character-defined meta. So here it's a lot more on comfort. Which side are you more comfortable on? Especially for the jungler, because the two sides, they're exactly the same, except top side will have that Baron and that Rift Herald, and bottom side will have that Dragon. So it's kind of which objective do you want to focus on more?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, it's going to be the Dragon, which will lead teams to pick red side.
Well, I will say that that Dragon seems to be usually the objective that Faulkner favors a little more. They definitely go for Rift Herald and Baron, which you should do, but it seems like if they ever have to pick between the two, they almost always go Dragon. Yeah,
and Dragon gives you those permanent rewards. So, I mean, you can get some temporary buffs with the Baron and with the Rift Herald, so they definitely have their place.
Sure.
But if you can get a lead on those Dragons and you're closer to Dragon's soul, then what that forces the other team to do is maybe fight in a scenario where they don't really want to. If you have vision established around this Dragon, you have 3 Dragons, enemy team has to fight you.
Right.
There's not generally a choice because the soul can be such a huge power spike, especially depending on your team comp.
Mm-hmm.
There's some that are more universal, like the Infernal Drake just giving you a ton of bonus damage.
Right.
So that'll be great all the time. But it's such an important objective, especially towards the middle game, that it can really decide a lot, because the trend right now is for Dragons to be taken very early. Usually they're a very constantly focused objective. It's not, it's Dragon's been here for 4 minutes. Okay, now we can go get it. As soon as those Dragons spawn, even before they spawn, teams are preparing. They're trying to get that pressure in the side lanes so that they have the priority for the Dragon.
Yep. Well, I tell you what we'll do, Rafe, because they have not actually started drafting yet, so we may be in for a little bit more of a wait. What we'll do is we'll take a quick break here, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes with Game 2. Right now, the score, of course, is Pitt State 1, Faulkner 0. So Faulkner needs to win the next 2 games in order to, professional broadcaster, in order to be able to get out of this round and advance to the next round of the playoffs. So we'll be back with that second game in just a moment.
Did you know that 100% of Faulkner's computer science graduates
since 2014 have found jobs
in their fields within 6 months of graduating?
It's a great time to be a computer scientist. Everyone is walking around with a computer in their pocket in the form of a smartphone, and it takes software developers to make those things work.
I built church websites, and through the training and instruction that I received from Faulkner, I was able to go right into my career after graduation.
It laid a solid foundation for what you need to know.
I'm getting a lot of hands-on experience within my field, and also they're just giving me a wide variety of options of things that I might want to pursue in the future.
In the state of Alabama alone, there are over 4,000 tech-related jobs available. And the preparation that you receive at Faulkner University will allow you to go to work almost anywhere as a software developer. It's a great time to be a Faulkner Eagle, and it's a great time to be a computer scientist. I hope you'll come and join us.
Bless the corners of this house and be the lintel blessed. Bless the hearth and every board and each place of rest, and every door that opens wide to stranger as to kin, and every crystal window pane that lets the starlight in. at home. I'm going home for solace and safety, home where the world will not break me, home. Never forsake me, take me home.
College, law school, this is a formative time for people, but it's not just about getting a degree. And I think when students come to school here, when people work here, that's what they get to see. The folks here will love you, take care of you, look out for you, and along the way, help you get a great education. I love that. I would tell students who are interested in potentially going to law school that they can learn the law anywhere, but not every learning environment is the same. So I think it's important for them to consider where they can go and be comfortable, where they can go and be encouraged, where they can go and be loved. And that's what they'll find here. There are larger schools, there are schools with bigger names, but there aren't schools with bigger hearts than Faulkner's Law School. We love our students. We don't apologize for that. We don't hide that. And they're not going to find that everywhere, but they can definitely find that here.
Faulkner University's online executive MBA program is now accepting applications. Earn your Master of Business Administration in as little as a year. Advance your career and apply today at faulkner.edu.
I wanted to take my career to a higher level, so I searched for an MBA program that fits my schedule, that's accredited, and aligns with my Christian values. I found the perfect MBA at Faulkner University. Faulkner's MBA program consists of 10 5-week courses completely online, and the quality of instruction is excellent. Imagine how earning your MBA degree can help boost your career and get you to where you want to be. Visit faulkner.edu/advance to learn how you can get started.
Preparing leaders for the River region and beyond, Faulkner University's Harris College of Business is distinctively different, focusing on ethics and character development in the classroom, and building ethical foundations with our new Ethics Institute. Living the mission of Faulkner University to glorify God through education of the whole person, emphasizing integrity of character in a caring Christian environment where every individual matters every day.
As a student at the Harris College of Business, I saw firsthand the mission of Faulkner University. My professors there not only taught me, but they also mentored me. They encouraged me. They cared for me. They instilled character and integrity into me. I mattered every day. That mission hasn't changed. Harris College of Business continues to provide its students with the tools they need to succeed in today's business world.
Earn your online Masters of Science in Management from Faulkner in 1 year. With a focus on HR management, leadership and ethics, and strategic management, you'll gain the skills to succeed. Apply today at faulkner.edu.
Training tomorrow's teachers, ministers, and scientists, guiding future business leaders to positively impact our global economy, teaching healthcare professionals to improve patient outcomes, coaching athletes to give their best on and off the field, men and women learning how to succeed wherever their dreams take them. That's Faulkner University. With over 70 undergraduate and graduate degree programs, you'll find your calling, all in a Christian learning environment. Faulkner University. Discover more at faulkner.edu.
Hello, everybody. If you've noticed, I've grown a little more hair.
No, that's just wrong.
Yeah. So
I think finders keepers.
good to see everyone again. I was able to get out of class early, so I'm here to hopefully commentate on this last thing. I noticed that I was watching, and I noticed that while I wasn't here, we were losing. So I decided I had to come and make it and fix all this.
Fix all this. I think what needs to be fixed is Faulkner's draft. That inherently was not a bad draft, just not great for their chosen play style from what I've seen. So I'd really like to see something a little bit more aggressive early from them. Not to say their draft couldn't be aggressive early, but something that has at least enough power to stand up to whatever they put in the bottom and mid lanes. We know that MrGunk can be a stalwart bastion up in the top lane and just endure a ton of pressure, but in order for him to be successful in that, we need to have a winning lane. We need to have somebody with a lead so that his loss means something.
And it's really one of the instances of having someone outside of our jungler or top lane on utility. It feels like we always need either a mid or a bot to be winning lane. So having our mid go more utility and kind of losing the ability to properly pressure his lane due to the Silas being able to constantly come up.
Well, usually that's what the support pick is for. You have a support pick, you can go an engage tank champ, or you can go an enchantress, more for the shielding and healing to keep your ADC alive. And so there are comps built around no tank, and they work. But you have to snowball that early lead, and that's kind of actually what we saw from Pitt State. The only person with any amount of health was that Silas. And even then, Silas is not inherently tanky. He just has a lot of health. So you can execute comps like that. And actually, Faulkner did one pretty similar a few weeks back. So it's just a matter of playing to the comp that you pick. Faulkner picked a cohesive comp, was not able to play to it. I touched on it right before the game. And so they really need to focus on themselves and say, what is our greatest strength? What are we really good at? And pick around that.
Absolutely. And one of our biggest strengths, I feel like, has always just been as you were saying, MrGunk generally is able to hold out pretty well, withstand the pressure. But one of our biggest advantages is just having multiple people to kind of carry.
Yes.
And anytime we try focusing on only having one person who can really carry, it doesn't ever really work out particularly well.
Good news is our team is in good spirits.
I see that. Because isn't that what happened in the game we lost, in which the only person we had to deal damage was Orianna?
Yes.
We had Ashe.
Ashe on the utility. Very, very similar scenario to the last time, except for last time the Orianna was ahead, and this time we didn't have a winning lane. But anyways, it's okay.
It'll work.
There is hope yet. It's a fresh game. Nothing from the last game translates over.
Absolutely.
We start off at a fresh 0-0. It's just we really need to win this game. It's not really an option.
If the picks and bans I'm seeing right now are anything to go on, I'm really interested to see how this goes.
I believe that we can swap over to Tournament PC4. If they're in this client, they've likely already decided the picks and bans. So can we switch over to Tournament PC4, please? Awesome.
So one thing immediately.
There we go. Look at that. We are going to see the switch up from Fenburger and MrGunk. They are going to swap roles. Fenburger going into the top lane and MrGunk going into the bottom lane. And what are we seeing? We're seeing aggressive early game champions. Now, Ezreal not necessarily known for his early game prowess. Pitt State is going to lock in that vein, which, as we know, scales incredibly well. They're going to pick a super pick-based comp with it. Zinzao, Syndra, Thrash, all amazing at single-target picks. Honestly, Gragas as well. Between the explosive cask and his belly dash.
Which, didn't he used to have an infinite stun?
So he still technically does, but it requires you to hit full build, and doesn't.
Not likely to happen.
It's only done by one guy in ranked games, because he's the only one who can play the early game well enough to really take advantage of it.
And with a game that
can we switch over to the back to the camera, please? So we don't hop on their footage while they're in the delay.
Yeah, and with as early a game picked as we took, not likely to reach that point. But super excited to see how this game's gonna go. I know Fenburgeorag really good at just ruining a top lane with Rekaton. He is in several games I've seen him play, he's really able to hard carry with Rekaton in the top lane.
That's good.
It's one of his
Gragas
best
is going to be a fairly decent matchup into him, though.
Is it
Just
Gragas
take
top lane?
Yes.
That was Gragas support. That's my bad.
Just take advantage of the cooldowns that Renekton does have.
Yep.
That being said, it does look like we're going with a lot of comfort picks. Sejuani being a comfort pick for our jungle. Orianna, I'm not sure, but I've seen him perform really, really well immune on this Orianna pick. I know from personal experience, MrGunk, a big fan of Ezreal.
Yep.
And we just saw a Nautilus pick in the last game, so I am surprised that they opted to stick with him. Hopefully they trade a little bit differently this time, because last game we saw 2 trades with Nautilus before level 3, and that is against the sacred texts. You don't do that. Nautilus, so much of what he has comes from his 3-piece combo.
Yep.
His survivability in his shield, the slow coming out from his E that you can chain with the hook and stun from his auto. It's really important to have all 3 levels on him, more than almost any other support in the game. So would really like to see them alter that early game just a little bit. And Ezreal gonna offer a good amount of protection. Now Vayne gonna have similar scaling as that Tristana, except not as much early game damage, not as much early game engage.
That is one thing I will say is they picked Vayne, who hard scaled one of the hardest scaling characters in the whole game,
particularly into tanks. I mean, every 3 hits she does 12% of a target's maximum health and true damage, which means that it's not mitigated by any sort of armor, any sort of magic resist. You will be taking that damage regardless of what your build is, regardless of how tanky you are, which means that tanks just melt when she's focusing them down. And so really the big one in danger is going to be that Sejuani.
Absolutely. But that does mean that the early game is going to be it's not going to be as not that it's not going to be difficult, but there's not going to be as much pressure on the early game, as she also has a really short range compared to most.
Yes, she does. And Ezreal having pretty solid range now. They are both ADCs that can struggle to clear early. So it'll be kind of interesting to see who gets that initial tempo, whether it is MrGunk or whether it's, I believe it's Sean is the enemy ADC. So actually, the delay is now complete.
All right.
We are good to get into the game.
One thing I do want to say as we're getting into this, I imagine Nautilus is probably taking the support item that lets him like clear a item or clear a minion in 1 hit, and like for every card.
Generally, every tank will.
Yeah.
Just because it's pretty vital for them to have that health. Normally, you're only going to see the enchantresses take that enchanted crystal, I believe. Yeah. That's not what it's called, but it looks like a crystal. Both teams do have that hook online, which means they're very good at invading. We see both teams prepping for an invade here, however on opposite sides, so likely no shot of any early game action here unless there's one team that just walks straight into another.
It looked like the opposing team.
No, they're peeling back off into the blue. So regardless of both teams being entirely in the bottom lane, nothing really going to happen. I will say that advantage likely would have gone over to Faulkner in that scenario. Would have been slim, but the double CC from that Nautilus combined with the Sejuani, if she was to start E, with so many melee champs, with 2 other melee champs to land those autos, because Sejuani's E passive, where she can freeze people, only applies to melee attacks.
Really?
Only applies to melee attacks from other champions within her range. Braum has a similar passive, but he has to be the one to land the first hit. Sejuani does not. if she is near, that Renekton can dash in and get his W off. If it's an empowered W, it'll get that to automatically 3. So just one more after the stun, and that's an additional stun timer. So the early game ganks are going to be really dangerous, especially considering that Gragas dash can be blocked. Will be interesting to see if Raptor decides to make his presence known early in that top lane. Immune to Flame using Orianna's early game damage. Just going to be getting a lot of poke on to Church.
Absolutely, and Renekton doing Renekton things in the top lane, just trying to be an early game bully.
That's exactly what we want to see. We already see the waves stacking up pretty heavily right now. Wouldn't be surprised to see him try to crash that in here soon. Maybe take an early recall, get an item advantage. Now, interestingly enough, Renekton going to start the Doran's Shield, which is typically seen if you're going to be losing the damage battle in lane. Normally you'll see if you're going to be winning that fight, you normally opt for the Doran's Blade, as it gives you some extra damage.
And Vamp. Omni-Vamp.
And Vamp, yeah, that Vamp rarely comes into play though, and with healing already built into Renekton's Q, he doesn't really need it. Fenburger getting a lot of damage off onto this Gragas though. Early Potato Agent already coming to mid. And it looks like we have some pings coming out from Faulkner on the bot lane. They know that. Thrash was spotted mid. They were looking for an opportunity. Vayne going to play very far back though. So we'll see what Faulkner can make off that.
It seems like
early we have action in the top lane, and that's going to be a chain CC onto the Xin Zhao.
And is this
that is the strength of Sejuani Renekton.
Absolutely.
You saw there was nothing that he could do for 2 seconds. Plus, then you had the Sejuani dash stun coming out from RapterKlaw. That was masterful. Great pressure in the top lane.
Sejuani's still up here. I wonder, this Gragas is low.
They're looking for a dive. It is dangerous. Sejuani will likely have to flash out. Oh, executed, which means that Pitt State gets no gold for that kill.
That's really good, actually.
That is fantastic.
It's dying to turns is one of those things that is surprisingly good a lot of the time, like dying to only turn.
Oh yeah, if you're going to die, you want to die without taking a hit from the enemy, because then the enemy gains no gold.
Yes.
Nothing comes from it. The Renekton does have red and blue buff, which means he can look for maybe a cheeky little fight here with this Gragas.
Essentially, Sejuani got a faster recall.
Early game, yes. Actually, any deaths before level 8 now. They just changed it. Before level 8 are faster than a recall. That's not what you want to see. MrGunk's flash gonna get predicted there. And the Nautilus going to go down as well, more than likely. The Vayne damage just barely not being enough. MrGunk going to have to pick some more unpredictable routes. Potato Agent making a very heads-up play, knowing that Ezreal has that dash, and that he'll very likely go in a fairly linear pattern. Immune to Flame getting an immense amount of poke on a Church here, and already up to a pretty significant CS lead.
Yeah,
that's how you want to see the Orianna lane played out.
Looking at the CS, it's a lot more.
Comrade was sitting on a ward there. Likely won't result in a kill. Gragas does have decent disengage between the slow and the stun,
but it did stop his recall.
It did stop the recall. He died? Fenburger died to that Gragas, and that's why he has those double buffs.
When that happened?
Must have been a little bit ago. Comrade does have the ultimate. Honestly, might have been able to use it there, knock that Renekton, knock Fenburger into the turret, and maybe pick up a kill. Fenburger gonna have to really respect that here, or just be ready to dash out in time, because if he gets knocked into the turret here and chain crowd controlled by that Gragas, it's gonna be his end.
But he does get ultimate right.
And
yep, there it is.
And that's exactly what you need to be watching out for, is just not respecting that Gragas pick enough.
He was trying to get that cannon to get to level 6 and hopefully be able to fight.
If he'd taken it just from the south side of that cannon, though, Gragas wouldn't have been able to do anything to him. So just a little bit extra on the part of Fenburger there. Now going to have to kind of work back against this Gragas. Gragas does have a bounty now. Yes. Comrade gonna have a pretty significant gold buy here. When Gragas is able to get a couple of those books, he strengthens up a lot.
Yes.
Vayne also Oh, that was from earlier. My bad. I forgot that Faulkner had died early. Has a Berserker Greaves to MrGunk's Sheen, so she will have the power spike right now. And things have looked to calm down just a little bit. Do see teams moving towards the bottom lane here for pressure. Syndra moving into the Faulkner jungle. Church just trying to get a little bit of vision, see where RapterKlaw is, so that Zinzao on or Swig can really know what to do. Fenburger in a lot of trouble here. Gonna have to kind of run. Proxying against this Gragas dangerous in the Renekton matchup.
Is able to at least talk to the Ravens, getting a back. Looks like they're probably going to get this first dragon though. There's nothing we can do.
No, it'll be entirely theirs. There's no point in trying to fight any sort of thing there. The gold lead pretty insignificant right now. Pretty dead even.
Yep.
I honestly don't know where Faulkner wants to look to make their plays.
Yeah.
Likely in the mid lane, but it is a shame because that those 2 deaths that Renekton had actually put him far enough back to where his lead completely disappeared.
Yeah. Because now the CS is equal. He does have the same number of kills, but
and in an even matchup, Gragas will beat Renekton. It's
unfortunately Renekton thrives on winning. Essentially, that's what he's best at.
And that is, we're likely looking at a dead Nautilus here. The Vein Stun will come through. MrGunk not really going to be able to do much in retaliation, unfortunately.
I will say that the Thrash Lantern worked really well with Vayne in particular. Vayne being able to use her dash to actually engage and getting close, and then use the lantern to get out, make her a lot more difficult to deal with.
Something that is pretty odd is that Faulkner opted for another early game deficient ADC pick. Just one that does not have much early game damage, really needs to scale and get those items, and that was a big weakness in their last game, was that they were trying to wait. We are going to see a fight break out here in the top lane. Just a little scuffle. Gragas always going to come out on top though.
Yeah.
It's not going to be much of a contest in any particular stance, and with his cooldowns being as low as they are, now that he has that Fiendish Codex, now that he has that Lost Chapter, make it very difficult.
And he's always going to have mana, so he can't really it's not like
always going to have mana, always going to have help. Now, it does look like MrGunk and Potato Agent might have found a pick onto the Thresh here. MrGunk going to get a little bit hungry for it and going to end up paying the price. Jonah's base, is he going to be able to pick it up? It does not look like it initially, no. So, both people on Pittsburg State are incredibly low in the bot lane. There's a scuffle breaking out in the top lane. Renekton getting sent right over to that Zinzao. Swig going to fall. Comrade picking up the return kill though.
But
I don't know if Faulkner has enough damage to burst down that Gragas before the Cinder gets there. Oh man.
It is able to pick up the kill.
Double kill going down in that bot lane over to Pitt State.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
That's
so unfortunate.
We weren't able to see what happened there, but that Vayne being 4-0 means bad news for Faulkner. That is exactly what happened last game.
Which, I mean, if we can get a pick on this Vayne, that is a 400 gold bounty, which would be really good, but...
Right. But that's a risk that you take just by playing Nautilus. You can't go in without sacrificing yourself.
Yeah.
And that's just how the pick goes. I mean, you get extra crowd control, but at the cost often of your life, and considering Nautilus needs 2 or 3 items to scale and he can't farm because he is a support, it takes a while. And frankly, even when he does farm, it's not going to mean anything because he's going against the Vayne.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how Faulkner tries to pull this one back, because right now it's not a tremendous gold lead right now for Pitt State. They do have one, but it's not the end of the world. But their champion picks lend themselves incredibly well to having a lead.
Yes.
the mid lane even, jungle pretty far behind, and CS, all the other lanes are relatively even, so that bounty will be incredibly fruitful for Faulkner if they can pick it up now. Rift Herald is something we did not get at all last game. The Orianna ult is going to come out from Immune to Flame. Church going to fall. Potato Agent, Swig, and Comrade all looking for a return kill here. Is Faulkner going to be able to get out? The Gragas ult going to come down. Likely just going to have to sacrifice that Sejuani. Fenburgeorag coming back in with the ultimate though. Zinzao from Swig going to fall. And Renekton doing his job, just zoning off the other two people from Pit. So that's about as good.
It looks like we might get
the Vayne going to be caught out. MrGunk going to have enough damage, and the Orianna bursting her down.
Nice.
Wow, incredibly poor positioning from Sean in space, and excellently punished by Faulkner.
Absolutely. Possibly one of the best situations we could have seen come out of this.
That was pretty incredible. Pittsburg State last game was really defined by just how solidly they held onto that lead, and it was just like a perfect chokehold in the MMA, you know, where it's just like sinks deeper and deeper and deeper. But here they let it slip a little bit, and Faulkner was able to pry that away.
And something we've seen often come out from Faulkner is like when we are behind him, we're able to start clawing our way back. We don't let go. The moment we get a little bit of hope, and the moment we get our hands grasping onto a little bit of something, we cling to it.
Now, something to be noted, Gragas Comrade did go for that Leandry's Torment instead of something a little bit more damage oriented like the Night Harvester, or something a little bit more utility oriented like the Everfrost.
Really unfortunate.
Salon gonna be picked out here, just can't be wandering around, and the worst part is Faulkner knew they were there.
Yep.
Because of that ward in the Dragon Pit, they knew.
Nautilus didn't actually have any backup whatsoever while going through there, so that's rather unfortunate.
Comrade likely going to be looking to pick up Immune to Flame here, but the miscast is just going to mean that Immune to Flame gets to run out for free. Still has the ultimate. MrGunk doing his due diligence to hold down the bot lane here. Does have that dash, which should mean Thrash isn't able to get a pick on him, but at the same time does not really have wave clear, so Vayne going to be able to hit on that tower for free for a little bit.
Nautilus here to back him up.
The thing is that this Nautilus is once again pretty far behind, so at this point he is a crowd control and die bot. Very solid damage coming out from this Renekton, catching a good trade. Unfortunately, just going to go 1 second too long, and Gragas is going to come out on top.
Gragas also having the better sustain here in this late game.
Oh, the Sejuani ult going to fly wide.
That was... Did the Gragas flash? I missed it.
Gragas did not flash.
Okay, he just dashed.
The Renekton ult gonna come out here just for the extra help. TP being popped by Pitt State. The shutdown gonna come out onto Renekton here. Syndra likely gonna be able to pick up the kill. Yeah, that ultimate's gonna mean bad news bears.
RapterKlaw essentially kind of giving his life there to hopefully distract one enough. But
no, that Zenzel dash is gonna come back up, and that's all she wrote. So Faulkner coming out negative on that play, actually. On that dive, a lot of resources committed. Did get the teleport from Church, but not really an advantage considering Immune to Flame had already used it to come back to mid prior. We do see Faulkner very pushed up here in the bottom lane. Pitt State looking for a fight. Faulkner's going to have to go for a reversal pretty quick here. Was definitely too late. As soon as that Nautilus hook comes out. Fenburgeorag with the teleport in is likely just going to get demolished, though. Only him or MrGunk going to be making it out.
Unfortunately, their top laner also teleported in
and
at the same time.
And that's just a situation where as the Nautilus there, you have to realize that you cannot run away from this. Between the Thresh Flay and the Thresh Hook, you are stuck, which means that you have to go full force into a fight. You can't like do it half-hearted. And that hesitation, as well as the hook coming out to try to get away from Salon, is going to end up costing more than just his life. We got it took Renekton teleport. It killed Renekton as well. Oriana not going to be able to pick up that Gragas there. Comrade will be able to walk away. And now the Pitt State gold lead starting to pile up a little bit.
Now up to about 4K.
We're going to see the Vane here with a pretty significant item spike in the Kraken Slayer with the Sheen. And by the looks of it, she's only about 1,300 gold off of completing that Trinity Force.
Yep.
Which will be tremendous. And she will start doing way more damage than should ever be legal.
Yeah, really and truly. Trinity, from what I understand, the Trinity Force is one that I've heard a lot of characters are taking now.
It's just characters that weave their auto attacks well with abilities and that can use their abilities a lot. So you won't ever catch somebody like a Jin building Trinity Force because his attack speed is fixed and his abilities aren't super insane. But somebody like Vane, who has such great synergy with that on her Q that already empowers her next auto attack, it's become a very staple buy.
It looks like we're looking for a pick off the Gragas in top lane. Unfortunately, the ult coming out there, knocking back, missing the Sejuani ult. Still gonna be able to pick it up though, although almost at the cost of Oriana's life.
That is the second time that a Sejuani ult has flown to far left field. It seems like, especially in a situation like that, you have Comrade right up against the wall, and you know that he has to run to the right. You can just wait. You can just hold it, wait till he goes to the right, instead of taking the wide angle and trying to land a relatively small hitbox.
Unfortunately, they're also going to take our mid turn over in the bot lane in response to us being able... I think we might be able to take the top.
Flash hook coming out from Salon here is going to be a great engage for Faulkner. Flash is being expelled all over the place and ultimately only going to pick up one. That is a lot of resources for what's ultimately not an incredibly impactful kill. If it was something like Sean in space, who is that massive carry right now for Pitt State, I can definitely see you committing that many resources.
Although,
but
unfortunately, this reverse pick right here, or not even a reverse pick, it's just this engagement on the dragon not going to go our way. The Vane, as you can see, is really starting to scale.
Running rampant. She's going to back and buy that Trinity Force, and it's going to be 3 times more over than it was. Faulkner in an incredibly deep hole right now. Nothing like the gold lead from the first game, but in terms of tempo, in terms of team fight, they have a very tall order ahead of them with relatively little way to access this Vane in terms of front to back. They're going to have to find a flank from Fenburger if they want to do anything to this monster. And even then, it's going to be tough because Vane does have that invisibility, giving her team plenty of time to respond.
It looks like our team might be trying to set up for the Baron, which I believe is coming up right now.
There's no way they try to fight it. They're trying to establish some vision. Just so they'll know. But right now we're definitely in zero position to be fighting unless this Vane volunteers to die as tribute.
Again, she's done it before.
Yes, except now she has 4 times as many items.
And has the potential to fight off the entire team.
Yeah, with her movement speed, I don't know if you know how the Vane passive works.
She's running at you.
Yes, but during her ultimate, that movement speed is tripled.
Yeah.
Which means that if Faulkner goes in, they're not getting out.
Yeah.
So it's an all or nothing game now, especially with that Vane being so far ahead. And like I was saying earlier, Pitt State has a lot of lockdown.
Yep.
It's going to be very dangerous, and it's going to require 1, some luck, and 2, an incredibly masterful game plan and team fight from Faulkner. They have to find the exact right scenario. They have to catch the one moment where Sean in space does one thing wrong. And that's not going to be an easy thing to do.
It looks like we're engaging on that Thrash.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of been a tale of the tape here with this Nautilus pick. It's just been so easy for Pitt State to pick off in both games, and that's going to be the 3 of the tanky people, or 2 of the tanky people, and the carry coming out and dying for Faulkner, which just gives Pitt State the complete uncontestable Baron, especially with a pick like Vayne. It's looking extremely difficult. Is Faulkner, we really cannot be sacrificing and face checking bushes like that when we know how coordinated Pitt State is.
Unfortunately, the Nautilus was also walking in front of the Sejuani, who was the one who had the sweeper. So the moment he walked in that bush, the enemy team knew exactly where he was, and had no time to get out, as they saw him before he knew they could see him.
That was just a total desperation play, and I think that likely seals the books for Faulkner, unless Pitt State manages to throw this really bad. Desperation plays like that are something that you just hate to see, because it's a last-ditch effort, and they didn't even have their whole team there. And in order for them to do anything, the Vayne has to get locked down. That's just a non-starter, and ideally that's what the Nautilus does. You can point and click that Vayne, and she'll at least get knocked up. And so she has to retreat, and you can try to front to back from there. But
I'm hoping doesn't get caught out here.
Yeah.
As he's
Salon just having a rough few games here, trying to go and collect this vision, but doing it in a relatively unsafe way, I feel, and it's costing them a lot. It actually, I would argue, cost them the early game the last time, going for those early fights, and maybe not the entire early game this time, but just one fight that went slightly in the favor of Pitt State, and then another fight that shouldn't have happened at all.
I will say that the stun coming out from the opposing mid laner, literally stunning our entire team.
The
really
Vayne is just able to run rampant, and that's going to be it.
Yep.
That's going to be a quadra kill for the Vayne, and a complete mauling, frankly, by Pitt State, which is something Faulkner never really saw this season. You know, it's I almost wonder if some of it wasn't maybe the opponents that they practiced against, because so many of our games were just stomps.
Yeah.
That maybe we weren't able to receive the caliber of practice that would have been so beneficial in a situation like this. But you can't win them all. Unfortunately, Faulkner not able to do much tonight. It will go to Pitt State 2-0.
Really, really unfortunate couple of games. Able to kind of have a few shreds of hope of there in the early game. Early game went really well for this. Started losing it pretty quickly though, and then in the mid game we had a couple good picks, but unfortunately we were not able to keep on hold on to that, and just kind of fell behind the Vayne. Really,
I mean, credit where credit is due. Sean in space, just both games was phenomenal, and made it extremely difficult, even once he got a lead, for Faulkner to do anything about it. And it made me quite sad to watch, so I guess he was doing his job.
There was only one instance where he ever really I noticed he made a mistake.
Right,
at least one that led to
no, I think he only died once on the series. So he was really what brought it in for them. And
the entire team,
Faulkner not able to find quite the response. Not quite in the draft. I mean, completely shifted the draft perspective.
Yep.
And that's just how things go, you know, especially when you're fighting people from out of conference. You're so used to fighting the same 6-7 people over and over, and then you fight somebody else who you've never seen before, not really had the chance to study or play with, and you never know what can happen. In this case, Faulkner just gonna come up a little bit short.
Absolutely.
That's not to say they didn't fight their hearts out, though. Very, very, very proud of our squad.
Yes, and we did make those adjustments going into game 2, and it did work better at the start.
Right.
Unfortunately, we did just run into a few problems and ended up falling behind.
Mm-hmm.
But all things considered, it's like we made improvements in the second game, and we know what we need to work on for the next time we play. Which, unfortunately, I do believe that means that's the last time we played this season.
Yes.
So that is the last game from this season. You'll see us all in the next season, luckily.
Hopefully a little bit more polished, a little bit more focused in, ready to maybe with a different play style. Who knows? That can change the whole dynamic of a team. You know, you shift from this early game centric where we can really only focus on these early game team comps. Maybe in the off season, they take a little time and prepare a style of very patient, very methodical type play, and who knows, that could be the difference maker next season. But
we'll see what ends up happening. For right now, glad y'all could all come and watch. We're going to take a short break and then come back with an interview of our players just to get their reaction on what happened.
Did you know that 100% of Faulkner's computer science graduates
since 2014 have found jobs
in their fields within 6 months of graduating?
It's a great time to be a computer scientist. Everyone is walking around with a computer in their pocket in the form of a smartphone, and it takes software developers to make those things work.
I built church websites, and through the training and instruction that I received from Faulkner, I was able to go right into my career after graduation.
It laid a solid foundation for what you need to know.
I'm getting a lot of hands-on experience within my field, and also they're just giving me a wide variety of options of things that I might want to pursue in the future.
In the state of Alabama alone, there are over 4,000 tech-related jobs available. And the preparation that you receive at Faulkner University will allow you to go to work almost anywhere as a software developer. It's a great time to be a Faulkner Eagle, and it's a great time to be a computer scientist. I hope you'll come and join us.
Bless the corners of this house and be the lintel blessed. Bless the hearth and every board and each place of rest, and every door that opens wide to stranger as to kin, and every crystal window pane that lets the starlight in. At home, I'm going home for solace and safety, home where the world will not break me, home, never forsake me, take me home.
And welcome back into the post-game show. You'll see that I'm back, so appreciate Seth coming in and commentating, and also Raffe being able to come in and do commentary for him as well. So, tell you what, we'll go ahead and I think the mic having some trouble. Hopefully,
hello.
Okay, all right, it's good. Yeah. So so we're here with Zane, Thrash, MrGunk. He is the captain of the League of Legends team. And Zane, obviously not the result that we were hoping for this evening, but there was a marked improvement between the first game and the second game. It looked like y'all made quite a few adjustments on your team comp. So what were the adjustments that made it a little bit easier in that second?
Well, one of the adjustments was that we realized that they were on Smurf accounts, which means that they were really ranked higher, much higher than they actually were seeming. And so, like, we went into the first match thinking, oh, this is going to be, like, another easy one. And so you picked, like, more of an offensive team composition where we could kind of do whatever we wanted. And then in the second game, we chose more of, of focusing mainly on getting Jonah and Isaac, which are our best players, fed. But then also getting Isaac on the role he prefers. So that was...
I got you. Well, that does make a significant difference. I didn't know that part about the other Pittsburgh players. Are they? Do you have any idea what their team records were this year, or did y'all look into that?
We did. We noticed that like they won every game that they had those players in. And then they also like threw in some random other people who were actually lower, and so then those games were more of a coin flip. But with that team, they've always.
Yeah, what may have happened there is this is more like a B team for them, and they throw in experienced players with some younger players, and I'm guessing that happened. Some teams do that just to help develop their young. That may have been what happened, but regardless, y'all did obviously once y'all understood that and understood what you were up against, you were able to make some of those important changes in your team comp to be able to actually make a difference. What exactly was going on with, we saw that the top lane struggled a little bit, and I noticed especially that in bottom lane, it seemed like they were getting a lot of ganks that were very timely and hard for y'all to handle. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, we tried primarily to realize, okay, well, this is already happening here. What can we do to prioritize the other side of the map where they aren't?
Right.
And like, if we were already too far away to go help with a gank, then we would just say, okay, well, let's try going up there where they aren't, and try to kill top lane when they're trying to kill our bot lane, and hope our bot lane survives. Or in the first game, I TP'd down a couple times with Shin ultimate where I created a shield, and I tried to help him like that. But it was rough, but it's all right.
Well, first loss of the season. So I did want to focus, especially since this game does unfortunately end our season here tonight. I wanted to focus on some of the positive, because this team has really had a phenomenal season from beginning to end. This is the first game we've lost all season long. Didn't have a single loss in the regular season. Just came up against a very tough opponent tonight, and unfortunately in the postseason, sometimes that happens. So if you would, I'd like you to just speak a little bit to how this team sort of came together and why y'all were able to accomplish what by any measure is an absolute phenomenal season, especially when you consider last season where we really struggled to even win a single game. So what was the big changes that were made in there that made that difference, had a fantastic season in the regular?
Well, I think it was a lot to do with the people, the team, and our communication has improved so much over the course of the season, because Isaac and Sam, they both speak Chinese fluently, and that's their primary language, and so we put them together in the bot lane. And then me, Ethan, and Jonah, we can talk faster in English, so we were in the solo lanes. And so like Isaac and Sam can talk much faster to each other than they can to us, just because they have to translate everything in their head.
Right, exactly.
And so I think communication has just like skyrocketed, and then all of our understandings of like what to look for in a game, what opportunities to look at, and how to play better overall has significantly improved, because Jonah has gone through like our matches, and like he says, okay, now let's review what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong here. And then it was honestly a fun season. I had a good time, and I learned a lot, so I'm happy.
Well, I'm very glad to hear that. And what you were talking about, the communication, and then sort of went into game sense and game knowledge being a big factor. It's interesting because those two kind of play into one another, because if you're really knowledgeable about the game, you don't have to communicate quite much. And so that also increases that communication efficiency as well. Once your players have developed to a point where there are certain things that don't have to be told because they know what's going on. That I think really has improved over the season, at least I've seen from the coaches. So, did want to say this to you, Zane. We certainly appreciate you stepping up and being a captain. I know that you're not going to be able to return next semester because you're off to some other foreign heathen nation that.
My favorite.
No, I love it. I love Italy. I had pizza tonight. So, no, I'm kidding. So Faulkner has for those of you that don't know, Faulkner has a study abroad program that Zane's going to be embarking on, and so he's going to be studying abroad in Florence, Italy.
Montecatini, from me.
Oh, I was thinking it was Florence for some reason.
We might go there.
Well, I mean, I assume you would at some point.
Probably.
But they go to the Holy Lands. They go to different important places in Greece. Like, they go all over Europe, and it's a great opportunity. We're certainly...
We can't go to Israel anymore.
Well, that's also true. They're kind of at war now.
Yeah, just a little bit.
So that might be a little bit of a problem. I'm sure they have a release form somewhere that just takes care of that. But certainly do hope that you have a fun and successful trip, and we wish you and all the other Faulkner students that are going on that the best. But we hate to see you go. But we do appreciate you dedicating so much of your time and attention to leading this team on to what was, by any objective measure, a fantastic season. It just happened to, unfortunately, end in the postseason.
Does that come with a pay raise?
Yeah, I'll give you a 20% pay raise.
Oh, of 0.
Yeah,
nice.
So whatever 20% of 0 is, you're getting that. Right. So sorry about that. So before we do let you go, did want to let you know that we have a lot of broadcasts left in this week, and all of them are Counter-Strike 2. So we have 3 Counter-Strike games remaining in the week. All of the other seasons are over, including League of Legends as of tonight. And so we've got 3 Counter-Strike 2 games. We have the first one against Auburn University. That's going to be the Tigers, and that comes at 6 p.m., and that is going to be a doubleheader. So we have another game coming up directly after that at 7:15. So we'll transition directly from one game into the next. And then finally, we have our big game against Wisconsin on Friday night at regular time at 6 p.m. So we got a lot of Counter-Strike for you for the remainder of this week. So if you're a big Counter-Strike fan, good for you. We got plenty of content to keep you entertained. And I'm actually an Auburn grad and graduated from there back in 2013. So I'm really looking forward to facing my old alma mater. I'd love to get a win against my former school. So we'll certainly be cheering for them on Thursday. And like I said, that is at 6 p.m. So special thanks to everybody that was helping out with this broadcast. And that is a fairly long list. We had Liz Anderson, who is our head producer and pushing all the right buttons and pulling all the right levers and making sure that we don't have some kind of horrible stream accident and you guys actually get to see all this great content. And that is largely due to her hard work. We also appreciate Josh Chalchi that was actually assisting her a little bit behind the scenes with the League of Legends. Oh, he says a very small amount. He's saying that off screen. But yeah, he did help with the League of Legends interface. And then, of course, special thanks to both of my broadcast partners this evening, which is rare that I have 2 of them. Seth Dawson, who was doing play-by-play for the second game, and, of course, Raffe Thrash, which you may have heard. You
No.
never met?
No.
Yeah. Well, it happens. So Raffe Thrash, who has really been fantastic and came on to the commentary team this year, has really brought a lot of flavor and intrigue to the League of Legends broadcast, which frankly I just can't do because he's a lot more knowledgeable about it than I am, but I do the best I can. But thank you so much to him for being willing to give up his time and do some volunteer work and helping us out with these broadcasts. Of course, I'm your head coach, Caleb Colquitt, and saying so long, everybody. The final score tonight, unfortunately, does end League of Legends season right here, so this is going to be our last broadcast until January, late January, when we pick up the next seat. Well, I say that League of Legends always starts later, so it'll probably be like February or March. League of Legends is a little quirky compared to the other games. But anyway, when that does happen, we will certainly let you know. Be sure to check out our social media sites and pages to make sure that you never miss any games or events, and we'll let you know about all of that on all of those. Like I said, final score this evening, Pitt State 2, Faulkner 0. That's going to be it for us this evening until that CS2 game against Auburn on Thursday. Stay the course.
The preceding broadcast was an official presentation of Faulkner University. It may not be redistributed without the express written consent of the Faulkner University Athletic Department. Regitar USA High-Res Arena is sponsored by Regitar USA. The national anthem was performed by the Faulkner University Chorus. If you would like to learn more about the Faulkner Esports program, visit our official website at faulknereagles.com or follow us on Discord, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram for all the latest news and events. Thank you for watching, and soar Eagles!